Okay, Tim, we're live.
Thank you, Becca. Welcome everybody to the April 15th meeting of the Northborough Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Becca, do you have the governor's?
Yeah. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted. This meeting will be live streamed, but will have no option for public participation. To view or listen only, visit the link posted on our agenda, which is on the town's webpage.
Thank you. So just want to go around and just make sure everybody is connected and can hear, and we can hear you. Mary Leach.
Present, and I can hear you.
Awesome. Deidre Writing.
Present.
Lauren Bailey-Jones.
Present.
Miriam Ibrahimi.
Present.
Sheikha Holland.
Present.
And Becca Meekins.
Present.
And I'm Tim Kalin. Good to see everybody tonight. I hope everybody's had a good couple weeks. The first thing we have on our agenda this evening is to approve the minutes from our March 18th meeting. Did anybody have any additions, subtractions, thoughts on the meeting notes? Or the minutes, sorry. No, can I get a motion to approve?
I motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
Thank you. Moved by Deidre, second by Miriam. Roll call vote. Mary Leach.
Aye.
Deidre Writing.
Aye.
Lauren Bailey-Jones.
Aye.
Miriam Ibrahimi.
Aye.
Sheikha Holland.
Aye.
Becca Meekins.
Aye.
I, Tim Kalin, vote aye. Minutes are approved. Thank you very much for putting those together. They were very well done. They're proven to be, at least for me, to be very helpful to go and review as we come up on the next meeting. So thank you very much for putting those together. So the next thing on our agenda tonight is to go through the survey and the results. I had a chance to at least download the results, and I've started to go through them. So I don't have anything from analysis standpoint yet, but what I wanted to do tonight was just share my screen and go through the survey results on SurveyMonkey so everybody can see what the results look like just from a strictly initial results and a data standpoint. So I'm going to share my screen. Bear with me. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So this is just the first page of the survey. So up here we got a total responses of 773, which is great. And then over here, estimated completion rate of 81%, estimated time 2 minutes, which is great. This is just responses by day. So you can see, the big boost, and then, things tailed off quite a bit. So first, this is kind of the first big drop-off point. So you can see that out of the 773 that we had, 672 lived in Northborough. So that gave 672 people an opportunity to move forward with the survey. The other thing I should say that I should share that I wanted to go through is when I when I did export the results, what I did was I went through and cleaned out all the people that didn't answer any of the questions or only answered one or two of the questions. And prior, I deleted out, I forget how many, some of the more inappropriate comments that people had left. So when I did that, we ended up with 554 usable responses. And I just wanted to share, we talked about why it was important to get the number of responses. So this is for margin of error when you're talking about surveys. So if you go down to this 4% line here, so we got right in between here, we got about 550 responses. So the margin of error for our survey is about 4%. So that means that if in our survey, if, for example, 75% of the respondents to our survey answered in a particular way, we can take that response of 75% to the entire town and be 95% confident that the real response for the entire town is between 71 and 79%. So the margin of error makes for a smaller range that your true actual number lies for the population. And this is just another example of how that works. So as you get more samples, your margin of error goes down. Your margin of error is never perfect unless you survey the entire population. So with 554 responses, we've got a very good margin of error of 4%. So that's very helpful.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Are we planning on using or keeping the responses for people who don't live in town?
Well, they didn't do it. Once you answered no,
You couldn't go further? Is that
you couldn't. Yeah, it just pushed it to the end and said thank you.
okay?
So this is the first question, and you'll notice that a lot of the questions have the same form of answers, with the middle, neither agree nor disagree, being the most popular response, and then the bell curve shape of the answers or the responses. So neither agree nor disagree, the most popular, and here's the percentage breakdown. So, all things considered, 443 out of the 531 believe that they see strong leadership supporting the town's value of diversity and inclusion, which is good. And I wouldn't be surprised if this committee and our commitment to this committee is a big part of that response. So that was good to see. Residents who are different from most others are treated fairly within our town. This question, we got 519 responses. And again, the vast majority of them are either, neither agree nor disagree or better. So I think that's a positive indication. Do you want me to show the comments?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so these are some of the comments. I'll just scroll through if you want me to stop on one, or if anybody didn't get a chance to read them all, just let me know.
I can respect that some people kind of call out, like, I don't feel like I fall into that category, so it's hard for me to be able to make a determination one way or the other. And that's probably why we're seeing so many disagree or neither agree or disagree. When we were kind of talking through this, it's helpful to see the comments to back that up. I wasn't sure if I really counted that as a positive necessarily. It almost seems like there's an opportunity maybe to drive more of awareness around that, so that we have more people who are either on the agree or disagree side. And I don't know how other people feel about that, but I think a lot of folks are probably reading this and saying, like, this may not pertain to me, but I think it pertains to everybody. And that's kind of what I got from these first couple of answers so far.
Yes, yeah, I agree. I think there's, for me, it highlights a very, a great opportunity for education, and also highlights for me that our town could use some more exposure to people that aren't like us.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't know, because, I mean, that's just my impression. They don't know because they don't know anything besides the people that are like us. So.
Yep.
I agree with both of those sentiments. I also wanted to add that some more interesting findings may come out of this when we start to view the data based on demographics.
Yes.
So we might see different trends. So, but this is really good overview. Yeah, I was in a meeting yesterday that said, I guess I met with someone who is advising, she's a DEI consultant, and she's advising a town right now. And they wanted to know, well, why don't people of color move to our town? And that's exactly what she said: the affordable housing, the lack of transportation, the inability to get jobs in the town. So it's interesting to see some of the comments are touching on those points.
Yeah, and I think it's, as I've gone through this, and we've touched upon the Master Plan Implementation Committee, and I think once we get our report done for the Board of Selectmen, I think some of this information would be important to present to the Master Plan Implementation Committee, so they can see just some of this feedback. And to your point, Deidre, the demographic breakdown, because some of these items have come up in discussions about the master plan, specifically around affordable housing, transportation, and affordable housing for senior citizens. So that all kind of ties into that point. And it's funny that in talking with the police chief and the fire chief, they both have mentioned that affordable housing within town is a challenge for them too. So it's all important. So people of all cultures and backgrounds are respected here. Again, we actually got more solid responses in the agree and strongly agree category, which was good to see.
When I answered this question, there was a nuance that I felt like I couldn't express, and I wonder if you all know how to get at that. I apologize for not bringing it up during survey construction because it didn't occur to me until I was actually taking it. But I don't feel disrespected. I've never felt that way in our town. I actually feel respected. But there's a feeling of not being included that's not as tangible. Like when I walk into the school, I know exactly who's going to be like Mary Ellen, the librarian. She's going to say hello. She's always been great at greeting. But maybe some of the other parents or some of the teachers, there's a distance and I can't put my finger on it. There's also, I don't mean to turn this into a focus group, but there's also like a feeling of, I know when I go to some places, I feel like people want to talk to me and I want to talk to them and there's an easiness. I always feel like there's an awkwardness. Like when I go to my kids' games, some of the parents, it's very easy. Some of the parents, it's very awkward. And I don't know what that is. And there was one incident where like there was gonna be a pool party, like post-season pool party to celebrate. And then there was one date, we could make that date. And then suddenly the date changed. And it happened to be the date I mentioned that we couldn't make it. And then what am I left to feel? Oh, the date changed for some other reason, or the date changed because that was the day I couldn't make it. And I'll never know, but it felt weird. So I felt like I couldn't express those things on the survey because I can't even really express them, even as I'm talking to you, because it's sort of not as tangible. So I don't know if we can get at those in the focus groups in a way that doesn't prime people. Like I don't want to force people to say something that isn't their truth. But yeah, I don't know. Your thoughts on that would be great.
So one thing I was thinking we might want to think about recommending, and my husband and I did this at our church about 25 years ago when people didn't feel welcomed, included. And so we recommended a welcoming committee. And I wonder if we could do that at the high school and have representation from different backgrounds. And it's people, students that are at the entrance to the high school every morning when students are arriving to welcome them. I don't know, just a thought.
Deirdre, I very much agree with what you're saying. That resonates a lot with me. It's not something that's like tangible, but especially as someone who's like visibly different, somebody who's visibly Muslim, like that's something that I can't exactly like describe. And I think that's something to do with like either the environment and like the culture in Northborough, if that makes sense. And I know like that's not something we can like change with something overnight. That's more something we have to like work towards, but I can agree with that. Yeah.
Deirdre, would you qualify what you are experiencing as microaggressions, or do you think it's not quite that, it's not even that tangible?
It's not even that. I have experienced microaggressions. So,
Okay.
we went on a hike with the school and someone's like, where are you from? Oh, California. That's true. No, really, where are you from? And well, really, California, like I was born there, I was raised there. Like there's no other answer. I'm sorry, I'm not from Sierra Leone or somewhere, like wherever you think I should be from. And that's what I would call a microaggression. This is like an alienation. Like I don't really know how to engage you, or I don't want to engage you, or why are you even here? Like, so that's the feeling I get. Yeah. And I gather that this person who I felt microaggressed, wanted to engage me, because we were like the family standing off by ourselves because no one wanted to engage us. So, yeah.
So is that lack of being informed and lack of, because the person who was asking those questions is not standing in the same pair of shoes, right? They're not walking in your shoes.
Right.
They don't understand. And I think that's part of the whole training thing, is helping people become more informed, you know, and how to feel, how to be an inclusive community and how to integrate without asking dumb questions.
Right. But I think it is a belief as well. It's not a lack of information. It's a belief. I think that I don't get that question of where are you from as much as an Asian person would. Even if they had been born here the same way I had. And I think it's just the belief of like Asian as foreign, or someone who doesn't look like me as foreign. And I don't know how to change that belief. I think it is education. I think you're right, but it doesn't come from a place of not being informed. I think it is informed that people that don't look like me don't belong here. Must be other, must be from somewhere else. So, yeah.
I understand. But I still think it comes from people not taking the time to really, I do, and again, I'm not walking in your shoes, but some people are just naive, or I don't know how to really describe it, but if they could better understand how it feels to be walking in the other pair of shoes, to be not in the majority of the community, to feel, so if you're Asian or African American or Muslim, whatever it is, that's the whole idea, is to make people feel included regardless of their skin color, regardless of their cultures, right? So how do we get there? How do we do that? I know that's obviously the question of the committee, but
Right.
I don't know.
I agree with you. Empathy is a big part of it. There are a lot of ways to get there, but I've only observed them in very small situations. Like, I don't know how to get a town there. And I don't even know if that's a good goal to have, because that's like a big thing. But I know how to get my own team there. And we do exercises all the time. Like I have biases just like everybody else. There are things that I don't know a lot about, and I face them head on and we talk about them and we call them out. And that's our culture and how we continue to grow. I think it's more difficult in a space where you don't engage the same people every day. And there isn't a sense of community where everybody comes together and these things are tackled head on. Or yeah, like if I go to Apple Fest right now, there's going to be like this circle around me and my family that's like not permeated, whereas other people are interacting. And
that's just wrong. That's just that we need to change that. We need to change that. I feel so passionate about that. We need to. That's why I wanted to be on this committee, is because I don't that brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah, but then it's also, I know that it's also a function of me, because I don't think that every person of color experiences that exactly the same way.
Or maybe they do and they just don't express it. Maybe.
It's I guess what I mean is it's more nuanced than I'm saying, but it is a feeling that I get wherever I am. And it's more difficult for me, I think. And one of the reasons I accepted moving to Northborough is that I wanted my children to feel more comfortable in those spaces, because I grew up in a very racially mixed environment. I went to an all-Black undergraduate institution. And when I came to graduate school here, it was shocking. Like I had never felt those feelings before. And I guess I wanted them to, not have that shock. and learn how to be in spaces with majority people. So, and then part of me wonders if that's going to backfire on me, because they also need to develop an identity for themselves that is positively enforced. And how can you do that when you're constantly othered? And like the conversations, we used to have this little green table, they ate there, I'd be cooking, and I hear them talking about skin color, and these are 5-year-olds, they just started kindergarten. What is that? This had never been a part of our world, but we just moved here. And so it's a big deal. And I don't, yeah, it's, I guess I am making it tangible because I'm telling you all the things, but it's not easy to tackle, I guess. But I am very positive about some of the things that are happening in the school district right now and this committee. So I'm all in.
I just add one thing. And if I step in it, just tell me. I read Cast by Isabel
Wilkerson, yeah, I did too.
A horrifyingly important book.
What was the name of it?
Cast.
And the author?
Isabel Wilkerson.
Okay.
So the main theme of the book is about the racial caste that's in the United States and how that's got developed over the course of our history as a country. And one of the things that she talks about in the book that really resonated with me as a white man, and I think, Deidre, I think this ties into what you're saying. But if I'm wrong, I don't want to, I will be wrong. One of the challenges or one of the byproducts of our racial history and segregation is people just don't have exposure to people that are different than themselves, and they just don't know how to react, and they don't know how to behave when they encounter people that are different than them. And in my belief is the only way that you can overcome that is by having people that are different interact with each other and just learn. I've said this before, just learn that they're like, we're all just people. It's just people. But I think in the book, she talks a lot about it. That white people have never been exposed to socializing with people other than white people, and a lot of them for their whole lives. So when the situation comes up where they need to do it or the opportunities to do it, they just get overwhelmed and they don't know how to do it because they've never been exposed to it.
Yeah, that could definitely be part of it. I want to qualify and say that I'm talking about one experience I have. My neighbors are incredible. Like they rolled out the welcome committee when we moved in. I didn't grow up with snow, and the first day we moved in, it snowed, and our neighbor came out and showed us how to work our snow plow.
Why didn't you move then? That should have been like,
I know, right? Wait, I need to go back to California.
wait a second, I left 80 degrees every day to come put up with this. Like, this is,
I know. They showed us how to build snowmen with, I didn't realize you rolled the stuff to make the ball. Anyway, it was great. We took pictures. It's not every time, all the time. And that's what
Right.
makes it even harder to pinpoint. But yeah, I agree with you. I think people are just very uncomfortable because, I mean, I'm uncomfortable in situations I don't know about either.
right. Yeah. But I think that it's tough to, for me anyway, to express, because I don't want to, like, the other side, it's like they're not equal, like trying to make excuses for why the white majority can't be comfortable around people that are people of color is like, I don't want it to sound like a cop out. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
Right.
but it's reality. It's that I like that when she was talking about that in the book, I was like, that I know people like this. I know exactly what she's saying, what she's getting across. Because they've never had to operate outside of their bubble. And if you think about, people that have never had to interact with people of color, there's a pretty good chance that they never had to do it in school, they never had to do it in college, and they never had to do it in the workplace. And it's just reality. Whether, it's wrong, but it's,
Right. And it doesn't help that stereotypes that persist create this idea that you wouldn't have anything in common, or, I don't know. I don't, yeah.
but it all comes back to, at least for me, it all comes, again, it's there's so much history there that you're just not going to be able to overcome it that quickly. Some people can, some people are open to it, and some people, I think our kids have a much better chance, and I think their kids have a much better chance, because it just takes time to unwind the history.
Can I jump in quickly? So I wanted to say, first of all, Deirdre, thank you, because I feel like, this conversation is probably one of the more meaningful conversations we've had as a committee. And I think that there are other people in the community who would be willing to share their experiences just like you. And I know we've sort of gone back and forth between this idea of a focus group and waiting for, a consultant to come in and run those. So I guess I just wanted to bring that up, that, these experiences, these lived experiences in the town of Northborough are what is going to push our work forward. And Tim, I agree that maybe we can't fix this right away, but over time, potentially with education, more experiences, creating environments of inclusivity, because I think that's what you were maybe getting at, Deirdre, is that you feel respected, but maybe not included. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes. I mean, I've never felt disrespected. Like, no one's ever done anything to, like, that I would view as racist, or, I've never felt disrespected, but yeah.
Okay.
Have I always felt included or embraced, or just like a regular person? Not all that,
So, with this survey, it does a good job of maybe painting a broad stroke picture, but those nuances and those intangible things that you're talking about, Deirdre, that's something that I don't think we can get from a survey. Maybe there were a few people who were very vulnerable in their comments and expressed that. So I guess I was just curious, and I realized I wasn't at the last meeting, so I apologize if you talked about this. But sort of where the committee stood with the next step of taking the survey results and then maybe also taking other qualitative data from focus groups, and whether that's something you wanted to talk about tonight or put on a future agenda.
Well, let's get through the survey, because what I was just going to do when I got through at the end of the survey is just update everybody on what my plan is for next steps with the survey information. And then I think once we get a more granular picture of the information, then I think we have the discussion about focus groups and where we want to focus the focus groups on.
Okay. And one more thing as well is just, I think hearing stories like yours, Deirdre, is so important for the community. And, as we think about next steps and our recommendations, I think providing members of our community an opportunity to share their experiences, reflect on them so that people can learn and people can maybe understand, going back to what Mary was saying about maybe some people never even stop and think about what it is to be not white. So that was just something that popped into my head when you were speaking, Deirdre. So I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your experiences. I found it really educational, so thank you.
Thank you for listening.
All right, I'm going to move on to the next question.
So I did, it was very difficult. I think I probably put neither agree nor disagree because like I said, my neighbors are great. And then sometimes I feel this weird alienated feeling. So it's very difficult to answer.
So again, just a handful of disagree or strongly disagree, and then
I do want to point out though, so even though it's a handful, it was still 7% of respondents, and being a pretty white community, that's 6 or 7, almost 9% actually of respondents, could be our minority group. So I think looking at those demographics is going to be really key to see, okay, who was saying that they disagree and strongly disagree. Because if minority groups are the ones saying that, that speaks volumes.
yes, absolutely, great point.
Can you slow down any bit, Tim? I'm reading.
Good, Mary.
Thank you.
I think that comment there about the events that Northborough celebrates, they're more Christian culture leaning, goes back to something we were talking about earlier this year about events and how we can diversify events and make everyone feel included.
Yes. Yep.
Wow, that last comment. Wow. It's unfortunate. What's the question on this one again, Tim? Okay. Wow. Back up to the question, Tim.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Maybe we could read it for anyone who's visually impaired but tuning into the meeting. So does our community demonstrate a commitment to meeting the needs of residents with disabilities?
Be curious to see the responses on the other. Yeah.
And we talked about this when we were putting together the survey that
A lot of comments about sidewalks.
yeah, sidewalks have been an issue for a long time.
I thought I read, was it an email or something on the town website about a grant that was just awarded to assess the sidewalks and things for safety, really? Assess the roads for safety. And I was hoping that would lead to more sidewalks.
Sidewalks are always a tough subject to talk through. There's a lot of different variables that go into sidewalks, and inevitably you're going to get, well, they got sidewalks, why didn't I get sidewalks? So it's just.
Well, tell them when they say that, well, if you have a sidewalk, you also have to shovel it in the winter. We have a sidewalk. I always envy the people that don't have a sidewalk because it's a lot of work when you've had a storm.
Yes.
Deirdre, I just want to answer your question about this may have been what you saw, I'm not sure, but the town did receive a grant not to assess sidewalks. It's called the Shared Winter Streets Grant. And we received the grant to put like pedestrian flashing beacons at some of our crosswalks near our parks. And to redo some of the crosswalks and to install wheelchair accessible sidewalks where the crosswalks are, so that if people are on the sidewalk and do require a wheelchair, that they're able to safely get onto the crosswalk and get to the park. So I think that may be what you're referring to.
Thanks for clarifying, Becca.
All right. Next question is, the town includes people of all backgrounds and beliefs in town activities and events. Question 9 is, I feel welcome at town-sponsored activities and events. And then question 10 is, the town of Northborough can do more to address diversity, equity, and inclusion. So you can see here that a lot of people think that the town could be doing more. So
Was there comments on that question, Tim, or no?
no.
Okay.
So those were the questions for the survey. Then we get into the demographics. Let's see, over 60% were female, 31% male. And then the age breakdown. I'd say that's a pretty good representation of Northborough right there. What is your race or ethnicity? And those are the percentages. The comments here, were more around, more fine tuning of what. And then which school do you live closest to? We almost got equal responses to all the schools, which was interesting. And then how long have you lived in Northborough? So what I plan on doing with the data is putting all the data into or cleaning the data and then putting it into a tool where you can just pick and choose the variables and see how they interact with all the other questions, so that we can see people between the ages of 45 to 54 who are Asian, who live in the Peasley area and are female, and see what their answers are and how those, those different demographics impact the answers for the survey. I think that will give us some pretty interesting insights into the meaning behind them, or at least a level deeper of understanding. And then I might try to take it a one step, another level deeper, and see if we can get some clusters of people or clusters of respondents to see how the groups fit based off of the relationships between the answers that people have given throughout the survey. So any questions on? No? Okay. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Any surprises?
I thought it was interesting that a lot of people sort of read into the questions in different ways. So, I saw a lot of comments about accessibility and mobility. I saw some comments about LGBTQ, inclusivity. So a lot about race as well, religion. So it was good to see that sort of diverse set of comments about, not just looking at race or, gender or something like that, but sort of looking at all scopes. So that was something that was, I think, a positive.
I agree. I saw a few things about political beliefs as well.
Mhm.
I think that's probably a big one, living in Massachusetts and people feeling like they can't express themselves.
I think the timing too, right after, pretty closely after this last election cycle, was pretty fresh in everyone's mind.
Right.
All right, so like I said, I'll work on putting that together. I don't know if I will have the information to present at our next meeting in 2 weeks, but I will absolutely have it done within the next month.
Tim, are we planning, moving forward, like I think we discussed sort of having interviews the first meeting of the month, or maybe the second meeting of the month, and then sort of doing like the business like tonight, that second meeting of the month? Do you think that that's a pattern that would continue?
Yes. So that brings us to our next agenda item, is to to discuss questions for when Greg Martinow and I forget the other woman's name.
Rhoda Webb.
Yes, when they come in to our next meeting, and see if there were any questions or topics that we wanted to send to them prior to, so that they can have an idea of what our discussion will be like.
I'm happy to take notes on this if you'd like.
When I was thinking about it, I know there's going to be the tendency to jump into what the schools are doing, and I think we should try to keep out of that, but more focus on how we as a committee can make recommendations to the board to help the schools do what they're trying to do. Or think about future ways that this committee can work with the schools. I forget what the committee is called at the school.
It's the Coalition for Equity. Oh, sorry, Miriam.
Coalition for Equity, is that what you said?
Yes. So Deirdre and I sit on that. And then Miriam, I know you came to one of our subcommittee meetings recently as well. Would you like Deirdre or I to maybe give a quick summary of maybe some of the work that's been going on, and that might sort of help with what questions we may ask?
Yeah, that would be great.
The other thing I was going to say is we could also help to focus the conversation on in terms of how we work together, because I know there have been a couple of things. One, there's a community engagement subcommittee, so we might like ask them specific questions about what that subcommittee is doing specifically and how we might be involved. And I think that touches on this Lyceum. So they really want to create a way to bring education to the community, and would like several groups, including ours, to become involved in that. So pointing out those specifically, I think, will help focus the conversation.
Yeah, I agree. They had sort of like a subcommittee of a subcommittee meeting a week or two ago to sort of brainstorm the Lyceum event that the school district is envisioning. And Miriam, you were the guest speaker at that subcommittee meeting. I think that would be a good topic to sort of focus on, because I see that as a very natural sort of overlap between this committee and the coalition for equity. And one thing that came up a lot as well was, our school district is regional or regionalized at the high school level, and how that creates a community of Northborough and Southborough. And although we are a Northborough committee, looking beyond our borders of Northborough, looking to other communities, seeing what Southborough is doing. They have a neighborhood brigade. I'm forgetting what it's called.
I think it's Neighbors for Peace. I might be making that up. Neighbors for Peace. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. And Dr. Safdar Medina is running that with some of his neighbors and residents of Southborough. So learning more about what their work is doing, and potentially, seeing, hey, can we jump on board as well? So I think focusing our conversation around this Lyceum, bringing education to the community and how we can work together, and then also going beyond in our community and seeing, hey, is Southborough doing some things that we could do too? Because essentially we are one community in a lot of ways, at least educationally speaking.
Lauren, can you remind us what Lyceum is again?
Deidre, I think you had a good definition.
Right. It basically just means like a education forum.
Oh, okay.
I just remember the person who introduced this at the meeting said that this is, and one thing I really love about Northborough is the history. So I guess Frederick Douglass spoke at one of these way back when.
In Northborough, which is pretty cool.
In Northborough, yes, very cool. And a few other people that she mentioned that was pretty. But it's a hall for public lectures or discussions, an association providing public lectures, concerts, and entertainment. So it's just a fancy word.
So essentially,
for lecture.
Yeah, a forum for education. And I know that we're looking at, not just lectures, but arts and music. And I think I Googled this because I had never heard of the word Lyceum before. And I think it was Aristotle who actually was instrumental in creating these Lycea. So
Thank you. I thought it stood for something. So, you learn something new.
Yeah, like an acronym.
Yeah, I think how she explained it was like a community forum where people can come together and like have discussions and arts and film and education. But yeah, I think that is a great way to connect that with our committee and the larger community at large in Southborough and nearby.
When Greg and Rhoda come to our next meeting, would you envision them to give a 2 to 5 minute summary of the coalition's work? Do you think that would be helpful? I know that they're usually very prepared with slides and things like that, and they already gave a presentation, sort of recap presentation to the school committee a month or so ago. So is that something that our committee would like, or do you want to keep it solely conversation based?
I mean, I'm open to learning as much as we can about what they're trying to do with the schools. So, but I don't necessarily think that they need to go into like a deep dive presentation on everything that they're doing either. So something in between, like if the slides will help get across the main points, then that would be great. You know, which I don't want them to feel like they need to show up and work, you know?
One thing
Yeah.
I really want to ask them about is resources. So we had a meeting last week, and there's a subcommittee of the committee, a subcommittee of the subcommittee. There are a lot of those going on, but they are helping the town come up with not the town, but the school district come up with a diversity statement. And there was some discussion about how other school districts' websites, it's really clear their commitment to diversity, and our website needs to be updated. But it seems like there's not really the bandwidth. Like they don't have a web designer. They don't have a DEI director who consults with faculty. So I'm curious if they need resources for those things, or other things that would help them do the work that they want to do.
It's a great question, Deirdre.
And Becca, there's not much, they get their budget, right? I mean, it's not what they do with the school portion of the budget is really up to the schools, correct?
Yeah. I mean, we partner with them to get to the number, but what they do with the number is determined by the school committee and the superintendent. And, but I mean, I don't want to, there may be a possibility for a partnership there, I guess is the point.
Okay.
Because I think like when I think about diversity statement, webpage, those are things that I think on the town side we are interested in also. I know that it will reflect that they may not be the same, like the schools are representing a student population, it's a different population. A town, you're representing an entire community. But I think that there may be an opportunity there to partner to allocate those resources so that we can both get something, like that for both the school and the town. I don't know what that looks like, but I think it's possible.
Okay, that was my next question, so thank you.
Otherwise, I think other questions that we've asked other guests are in play, like hiring and how that works, and training for their faculty and things like that.
I mean, I'm interested in learning more about what the schools do on the diversity training front, if they do anything now. I mean, again, I know it's a totally separate animal because they're training for things that we don't, there's a separate set of laws that apply to schools, that apply to towns. But I guess I am curious to learn more about what the schools are doing just generally on this topic. And Kim, I know you don't want to get too deep into it, but it might help us, particularly our training NOC subcommittee, get some ideas for them, I guess. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should avoid like telling them like curriculum-based suggestions or student policy types of suggestions, because that's really not our place to do that. But learning about what they're doing would be great, because that's, like you said, Becca, that could lead us in some really great directions. Okay.
I have a good list of questions from all of you that I typed up. So if you would like, I can certainly be, since I've been in touch with Greg and Rhoda, I can certainly reach out to them with these questions, unless Tim, as chair, you would prefer to do that.
No, feel free.
Okay. If anyone comes up with any other questions, in the next few days or few week, maybe week, just let me know and I'll add it to the list. Okay.
Yes, perfect. So next on the agenda is just if people have any updates on medium and or long-term objectives. No?
I think I just wanted to sort of, since, I know that I was sort of going to focus on community engagement, and I think my role on the Coalition of Equity is sort of that merging point. So I think that next month's meeting with the superintendent and the director of diversity will be instrumental in sort of seeing that bridge. But that's really my only thing.
Okay.
I had a quick question, actually. So I know that we've been talking about kind of splitting up the work. I think that's pretty clear. What I wanted to know was, what are we tracking toward in terms of having a deliverable? Because I want to make sure I can be heads down on that, so that I can provide something that's helpful for you all.
Like a date, or?
Yeah, like, is there, or, like in the next meeting where we talk business, is that where we want to start to share out, like, hey, this is what I put together, this is what I'm thinking. Like, I just wanted to kind of get a stake in the ground, so that I can make sure I come prepared for that conversation when you're expecting it.
Yeah, I think if the next business meeting that we have, which will be the middle of May.
Yep.
At that point, for everybody to start having some concrete ideas and direction on where they're going would be terrific.
Beautiful.
Because it's gonna, Becca shared the budget timeframe for this budget cycle, so that gives us some idea of where we'll need to be if we're going to ask for any financial resources. So thinking that it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks maybe to put the actual report itself together. That means we need to start working on that beginning, middle of September. So that, working back from that gives us our time frame. So if, middle of May, everybody has a concrete plan or a concrete idea and direction where they're going to go, then that gives us the summer to kind of hash through the details, get all that put together, and then in September we can start putting together the actual proposal, and then at that same time having a better idea of what we need to present for financial resources if needed, and then scheduling with the Board of Selectmen to present. And I also reached out to Jason Perot, the chair of the Board of Selectmen, about meeting with the Board of Selectmen in July, just to give them an update on the progress that we've made. Nothing concrete. I think it would be good to go in and say we've talked with Chief Liver, we talked with Chief Parenti, we talked with all the various boards and committees that we'll talk to by then. This is what we've learned so far. These are some of the results from the survey, just so they have an understanding of the direction that we're going.
Makes sense. In the interim, I know you're going to do some more deep dive analysis on the survey, but is it possible for us to see just what we looked at today at a high level, or is that not something that can be shared right now? I'm just thinking in terms of how we want to move forward with the areas that we're focused on. It might be helpful to have the voice of the town, like to refer back to quickly, but I don't know if that's easily exported without a lot of effort on your part.
Let me see what I can export all the data into like Excel, but I think I might be able to export everything into a PDF so you can see the
Yeah.
graphs and,
That'd be great. Mhm.
okay,
That'd be great.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's possible on SurveyMonkey, I believe.
yeah. Yeah, so if that's what you're talking about, then,
Yes.
okay. Yeah,
Thanks,
absolutely.
Tim. That'd be awesome. Thanks.
I want to go off of what Shika was talking about. So using our business meetings sort of to start to share out our ideas, what information gathering have we been doing? You know, how have we sort of bridged our own research with, you know, the survey data? So I know that we were sort of talking about our different categories. You know, we had community engagement, the consultant, representation in town government, like hiring, recruiting, retention, and training. So do we want to have one topic per business meeting that we really sort of dive into and talk about, and have the people who sort of signed up for those topics share what they've found, you know, lead the discussion?
I'm just thinking through I don't know if we'll have time for each one to have, because that would be 4 to 5 months of meetings if each one had their own discussion. But I think if, like, I could see the agenda for our business meetings being, this is who's coming in next week. Discussion about questions to ask. That takes 5 or 10 minutes because I think we can bang that out pretty quick. I think we all have a very good understanding now, after we've been through it a couple times, the types of conversations we want to have with the various boards and committees. They'll be different because once we get out of like hiring and firing, like Community Affairs Committee, they'll be a little bit different, but overall the direction will be the same. So that'll be one agenda item. Then the second, third, and fourth agenda items will be this topic, you know, community engagement, consulting, training. We'll tackle those three. And then the next meeting will be the same, but maybe the 3 or 4 topics that we're discussing about the presentation will be different.
Yeah, I think that sounds reasonable. I think just, you know, knowing sort of in advance about how much time would be allotted would be helpful, whether to know, like, to be very succinct and brief, or whether to really do a deep dive. I think that would also be helpful.
Well, I would think that if 15 to 20 minutes for each topic for the meeting. And I think if somebody's working on, like, Becca, I'm just going to use a consulting just because that's top of mind right now. Becca goes out, does her research, brings us 3 very qualified options for a consulting group to come in and help the town. I think at that point, we probably have a bigger discussion, but we'll know that in advance because we'll have our 3 options. All right, so do we want to present all 3? Do we want to just present 1? What are the different costs? What do we get for the cost? Like, I think at that point, we have that bigger discussion. But until, like, but before that, I could see Becca coming in and saying, I've talked with, 3 different consulting firms. One of them was really great. The other 2, so I'm going to keep looking. Like, it doesn't have to be that deep of a dive as long. It's more like if we hit roadblocks and need help to get over those roadblocks, like, we're all resources for each other to help get people unstuck, I guess.
Do we have any idea what the budget looks like for a consultant that would meet the needs of our community?
Depends what the needs of the community are. I mean, I think, like, in thinking about the consulting thing, for me, like, on the consulting matter, before we're ready to put the report together, this group is going to have probably 2 or more discussions about scope of work. and what we, based on all of the information we've gathered, what we want to get out of a consultant. And the way I had sort of thought about it was that we would pitch like an A, a B, and a C, a gold, a silver, and a bronze plan, right? And they would all have cost estimates attached, and each of them would be a slightly different scope of work. The gold being probably the largest scope of work, and the bronze being probably the smallest. But figuring out what falls into each of those buckets is going to require everybody on the group, because we're all going to have to come to an agreement based on all the work we've done. These are the things that we think are most important and we want no matter which plan the board goes with. And these are the things that we think, you know, would be great if we picked the gold plan, but if we can't get the gold plan, you know, we could leave it off. So that's sort of how I've been researching and imagining the discussion. And I'm not ready yet, unfortunately, to have that conversation with you guys because I'm still doing some of the research, but there definitely are going to have to be meetings for that topic. And I'm going to guess that for the other three silos, the community engagement group and for the training, like those groups, they're going to have those discussions with us too before we sort of narrow down what we want to put on paper, so to speak. So.
All right, sounds good. Any other comments on that? Anybody have any new business to bring?
Tim, I know you said you talked to Jason about the board meeting in July. There's a meeting July 19th, which I think is the date that will, if we do end up meeting in July, that's the date that it will likely be. So I just wanted to let everyone know that, and maybe just mark your calendar. It's not confirmed yet, but if we do meet in July, that will be the date. So
That will be the Board of Selectmen meeting, July 19th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Hopefully it'll be in person.
Don't count on it, but don't tell anybody I said that.
Lauren, this is a little bit of an aside, but you mentioned Director of Diversity. Is that Rhoda's title? Because on the website, it says like Interim Director of English. And I was actually curious what her role is.
So her role is Director of English Language Learners. I can get you the official title in just a moment. And I believe it's either and equity or and diversity.
Oh, okay.
So her role was, I guess, upgraded.
I see.
Recently. So actually, I think when she returned to her role as the Director of English Language Learners, she was she basically took on some additional roles. Okay, she is the Director of English Learners and Equity is her official title.
I see. Okay. So they do have a diversity equity person, and it's
Yes.
Rhoda.
Yes.
So yeah, I know that she has a background in like intersectionality, and she's mentioned that. So I've been curious about her role. So thank you for letting me know.
Yes, you're welcome. And again, that equity piece is new to her position this year.
All right, sounds good. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Lauren.
Second.
Moved by Lauren and second by Becca?
Yeah.
So roll call vote. Sheikha Holland,
Aye.
Lauren Bailey Jones,
Aye.
Deidre Riding,
Aye.
Miriam Ibrahimi,
Aye.
Mary Leach,
Aye.
And Becca Meekins.
Aye.
I, Tim Kalen, vote aye. That ends our meeting for this evening. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you, everybody.